Hey guys, want to give you a little sneak peek at my latest purchase. Went ahead and picked up a Generation 4 Glock 32 in the 357 SIG. I have been uh, carrying in the last several years a couple different models of Glocks, normally sometimes M&Ps, but primarily Glocks in 9s and 40s. And I wanted something with a little bit more power. And really, the 357 SIG is a good round. I've had 10 millimeters and 45s in the past, and that is a great round. 10 millimeter is just an awesome round in that Glock platform. The problem is the slide thickness and the frame is just a little bit too chunky for me to carry and be comfortable with. So either way, I opted this time around to go with the 357 SIG, and with like all my Glocks that I have owned and still have. The pesky finger grooves had to come off. I cannot get a good purchase on these guns without getting rid of those finger grooves. I love the Gen 2s, and I wish that all Glocks, or at least the ones that I could buy, would have the option of having no finger grooves on the frame like the Gen 2s, because that was one of the best frames that they made. The RTF2 texture was also one of the best textures that they had, and that's not an option anymore unless you get one of the Vickers or one of those exclusive guns that you can't really find anymore, and is not a normal production gun. So, but either way, the Glock 32, great gun all around. I went ahead and knocked the finger grooves off from this frame only because it really needed to have it happen for me to carry it. And of course, all the plastic on these polymer frame guns is so slippery that it's ridiculous. So I went ahead and textured it with a heat gun. I don't do the golf ball style stimpling. I have a gun that has kind of a cross pattern of almost like checkering, and if you use it and go across and work your pattern back and forth, you end up with a really nice texture. It's not super aggressive, but it is aggressive enough to give you a nice grab on the gun. But either way, this gun is really a nice happy medium for somebody who's looking for a carry gun. It's 13+1 capacity. There are a few changes that I made to them, usually like with most Glocks. Fiber optic front sight, solid black rear with a nice ledge so I can rack that slide off from hard objects or my belt line if I need to. Went ahead and replaced the slide release button with the Vickers Tactical because I do prefer that release. I also had the Gen 4 Vickers magazine release that I put in. Put stainless steel pins in it because I think that you get a better trigger pull with that style pin. It's a lot smoother than the factory ones, and they don't seem to creep as much as the stock pins. And of course, they're a lot stronger. So I put those in. Smooth face trigger from a Glock 34 to get rid of that serrated style trigger. I don't really care for those either. So real quick $10 switch on that. I did go ahead and replace the factory barrel with a Storm Lake barrel. A lot of companies make good barrels. Obviously, this gun does not have a magazine in it, and it is not loaded. There's nothing in the chamber. You can see the chamber is clean and clear. But I went ahead and put the Storm Lake in it. I've had Lone Wolf barrels in the past, and they make a great barrel. But the Storm Lake barrel, in my opinion, is just a little bit tighter on the lockup, and my accuracy is just a little bit better with that barrel. So I went ahead and purchased that barrel for this one. I run the standard grip adapters that come with this. That is a small one with the beaver tail, so I can get a nice high purchase on it without worrying about slide bite or anything. But overall, these guns are rock solid. They run all day long. They take abuse like no other weapon out there, and they have proven performance. I've seen a few issues recently online with some sheriff's offices that have had issues with firing pins breaking or getting chipped, and they're talking about, of course, Glock is saying that it's with hard primers and cheap ammo and things like that. I will probably upgrade my firing pin in this gun to a titanium, because titanium is, of course, much stronger than the factory, molded part. And I think that's one thing that I've never done in the past. I've had some titanium firing pins, but I've never really decided that it was necessary to have it on every gun. But I think with the recent issues that they've had with firing pins, it would not be a bad idea to look into a stronger, more reliable firing pin, only because this is a carry gun. It's a defense weapon, so it really needs to be reliable. So for you guys that do have Glocks out there, I don't care what model they are, look on YouTube at the videos that are out there and do some research on the internet, and you can find some issues with firing pins, and just do a close inspection of the firing pin in your firearm and make sure that it looks okay. And if there's any question in it, go ahead and replace them. They're fairly inexpensive, and certainly there is no cost out there that's worth risking your life over a faulty weapon. So it's something to look into. Do a little research on it, see what you think about it. Overall, I love Glocks. I've owned every manufacturer's weapons out there, and I keep going back to the Glocks only because of reliability has always been there. Short of this new issue with firing pins, which I just heard about within the last few weeks, and it pretty much seems to be an isolated type of deal with hard primered ammo, but I think that it's certainly something to look into. Other than that, these guns have a proven track record of being super reliable, and as far as I know, and from my personal experiences, there are no other firearms out there that do everything this does, that have the amount of moving parts and overall parts in general. You can field strip this gun with a small punch or a nail or anything. You can strip it right to the bare frame, gut the slide, take everything out of it, do an inspection, and put it back together in probably less than 5 minutes, and that's taking your time. So there are no other firearms out there that I'm aware of that are this easy to work on, that have the amount of moving parts that this have, and has this much availability of aftermarket parts. So certainly it's a great option.